Have you ever noticed that things in our body can build? So, for example, you might have one imbalance or less than ideal movement pattern, and then that makes your body compensate or adjust somewhere else. And then that creates another one to compensate or adjust. Well, we see that all the time in the clinic. And because I love metaphors and analogy, I've created the onion analogy or the onion metaphor. So in today's video, it's another one of our 5-minute metaphor series where I explain what is the onion analogy and how do we use it in our practice and how you can use it in your day-to-day life. Hi, I'm Catherine. I'm the founder and principal therapist of Layton Sports Massage and the creator of the Creighton Massage Method. In this channel, I share information about how the body works and self-care tips so that you can feel better in your body and enjoy your favorite activities and your life as close to pain-free as possible. So what is the onion analogy? Often in our clinic, someone will come in and they'll have a specific pain. Now, in my experience, most massage therapists will go, oh, you have a pain here. Let's work on the tension that's here. But usually where you have the pain is responding to something somewhere else. So if we just focus on where you have the pain, but we don't address the reason that the pain is occurring, you're looking at a very short-lived improvement. And here's an example of this. So if you have a pain in the top of the shoulder, kind of like right here, this is usually because your head is forward and your shoulders are forward. And that creates a lot of strain on this muscle because it's trying to hold the head up and there's like a pull on the shoulder. So if we just released this, it wouldn't help the imbalance. And in fact, it might make it worse because if you are leaning forward, your tension is in the front of the chest, might be pulling you forward. You may have tension in the side of the body, pulling you forward. You may have tension in the front of the neck, pulling you forward. So that would be one layer down from the metaphorical onion. So we open up the chest and we release the neck. But why is the chest tight and why is the front of the neck tight? That's the next layer of the onion. Sometimes you just have poor posture at work and you need to activate the muscles in your back and stretch the muscles in your chest so it's easier for you to sit upright. Sometimes it can be linked to your breathing patterns. If you're not breathing into your diaphragm, the front of the neck muscles will end up working to try and get more air, and that will pull your head forward and pull your shoulders forward, leading to this problem. So that's another layer of the onion. Now you can see how if we only work on the top layer, we're never going to get a long-term improvement. But the other way that the onion analogy is useful is when it comes to self-care. So in the example that I've just given you, which is the breathing, creating tension in the neck, and forward position of the shoulders, we could give you a stretch for the neck. And let's say you also have discomfort in the mid and lower back or between the shoulder blades. We could give you a stretch for the upper back as well, because that's where your pain is. But that's not actually addressing the deeper layer of the onion. I could give you a chest stretch to help your body be in a better position, which would definitely help. And that's another layer down. If you're stretching your chest regularly, your head and shoulders are in a better position. Your head is over your shoulders are kind of aligned in the center. You get less tension here and therefore less pain. But if your breathing is an issue and you're using your neck muscles to breathe up into your rib cage, that's the next layer. So then we could give you breathing practice, right? We could release the diaphragm and we could work with you on starting to breathe with your diaphragm more so you're not relying so much on the front of the neck muscles. So that's more the center of the onion. And it might stop there or there might be something else going on. If the reason that you have the poor posture is because you're stressed, we might talk about ways that you could manage stress or recommend that you see a psychologist or a cognitive behavioral therapist to help you with those aspects, right? We're always looking for the center of the onion so that you have less self-care to do and you get longer lasting results. Since we mainly work with a lot of people who work in front of a computer and a lot of runners and cyclists, I'll give you another example. And related to one of the videos that I'm doing today. Often, runners will have lower back pain. Now, they might have lower back pain because their piriformis is tight, or they might have lower back pain because their psoas is tight, which is a hip flexor. So we could totally release the lower back and you'd feel better temporarily. But if you walk out without us working on your piriformis or your hip flexors, you're not going to have a very long lasting result. So we could release your hip flexors and your piriformis, which is a muscle deep in the back of the hip. But why is your piriformis tight? Why is your psoas tight? Well, your piriformis might be tight because your glutes aren't activating. So they're having to overwork to compensate. So you need to do glute activation or glute strengthening. Your hip flexors might be tight because of your head position when you're running. And that's what I'm going to be doing a video on. So if you'd like to see that, check out the description below. And so if we can get your head in a better position so that your hip flexors don't have to work so hard. And I know it kind of sounds like a crazy connection, but it totally works. And so definitely if you're a runner and you get tight hip flexors, check out the head and hip flexor connection video. So then if we can get your head position better and your glutes activating, your piriformis shouldn't get as tight, your hip flexors shouldn't get as tight, and then you shouldn't get lower back pain, right? So whenever you're going for a session with a massage therapist or a physio and osteo, try and understand what is the most central reason that these problems are happening and make sure that the self-care that you're getting addresses the core, the center of the onion. Now, one last note on this onion analogy. The other reason that it's really useful is that we have to remember that our body changes over time. So every day or week or month or year that you have this imbalance, your body is responding to it and making those changes to respond to it more and more ingrained. So that's why you can't expect to get 100% improvement in one session for something that you've had for months or years or even decades. We do see people who've had problems for decades. And it may not be that you've had the pain for years and years. It may be that the imbalances have managed for so long until the end when your bucket is overflowing, as per our water bucket analogy. Then you have a problem. So the pain might seem new, but the cause might actually be really old because it's been building up over time. And that's one of the reasons that we recommend that if you feel something, a niggle or a pain or a heaviness, that you try and see someone as soon as you can, because the longer you wait, the longer it's going to take to get an improvement, the more sessions it's going to take to get an improvement. Because then we're having to take off layer after layer after layer after layer to get to the center. Another really funny, well, I think it's funny. It's probably not so funny for the people going through it, but another funny thing that can happen is when you are working backwards, what we see sometimes, so sometimes people will come in and they'll be like, so I've got this problem in my Achilles, but before I had the problem in my Achilles, I had knee pain. And and that went away and created the Achilles problem. But then before I had knee pain, I had hip pain. And this is just an example. It can come up in loads of different ways, but I haven't had the hip pain for years. So what we'll see sometimes is that when we start to address and bring the body back into balance, when we're addressing what created the Achilles problem, the knee starts to hurt again. And then we're addressing, as we continue to address the imbalances, the knee stops hurting, but then the hip starts hurting. And then we get back to the core of the onion, and then they all go away. So we often find that people end up going backwards through their pain patterns as we are taking off the different layers of the onion. So just a few ways that we use the onion analogy with our clients in our work. I'd love to know if this makes sense to you. Are you thinking, oh, maybe this pain was related to this pain that I don't get anymore? Or if you have any questions at all, please feel free to leave a comment below. If you're watching this on Facebook, it would be great if you could tag anybody who you think might be interested in this or share it. And if you're on YouTube, if you're watching this on YouTube, please like our channel. Subscribe, like the video, subscribe to the channel. And again, if you know anybody who might find this interesting, please share. Thanks so much for watching. Bye.